Barry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille Show. It's great to be back in the saddle. We've missed connecting with you guys through the I Love CVille Network. I took Friday and Monday as the bookends to an upstate New York family wedding. My brother-in-law now hitched and heading to Europe for a honeymoon. It was a fantastic outing, full of love, full of original vows, full of family, spirits, festive fare. But I'll tell you what, I have missed connecting with you guys on the I Love CVille Network. I return to the saddle. I return to this microphone and this camera to connect with you on a show that features you, the viewer and listener, with a news cycle that is loaded with information and ammunition. And we'll talk about that today, including a teacher within Albemarle County. And check that rundown, J-Dubs. I think there's some slight spacing issues that may need to be addressed. An Albemarle teacher sending an email. Rob Schilling has got some good reporting on this. Actually, some confused reporting, I would say, on this.
Yeah.
Highlighting Albemarle High School, a teacher sending an email to students on May 22nd at 2:18 in the morning. Why is a teacher emailing students at 2:18 in the morning during the school year? Basically throwing shade and hate on white women and white mothers. Mm-hmm. We will unpack this on today's program and try to make some sense of this discombobulated, what'd you call it, a crackpot?
Yeah, crackpot.
I mean, just absolutely discombobulated crackpot of an email. On today's program, we will talk about the settlement, $9 million from UVA to the shooting victims and their families. 3 dead, 3 football players. The victim families are demanding that the probe, the investigative report, be released. UVA is not going to do that until Albemarle Commonwealth attorney Jim Hingley's case, his trial is finished. We'll try to unpack this story for you. I want to talk on today's show, CVille City Schools saying no for now to school resource officers, police in the hallways. We'll talk a UVA alumni being named president of Yale University. And if it's that headline that's pushing the spacing issue, you could just call it Yale U. And that should adjust it, J-Dubs. We'll talk on today's program a rumor that's percolating and circulating about Reece Beekman potentially returning to the University of Virginia for a 6th year playing for Tony Bennett. Reece Beekman has now fallen out of the NBA draft first and second round. Remember, only first round money is guaranteed. Second round money is not guaranteed. And currently, Reece Beekman is not projected to be drafted in the second round. So Chris Graham of the Augusta Free Press, citing an unknown source, but highlighting that this source is rarely, if ever, wrong, is reporting, Chris Graham, that Beekman is considering a 6-year at UVA because he could potentially get up to $500,000 in name, image, and likeness revenue. Get paid $500K for his NIL, for name, image, likeness, and that money would be more than the $40,000 that a G League, that's the minor leagues of the NBA, $40,000 pay that a G League player would get. Good God. The basketball team would be loaded if Beekman comes back. And that comes on the heels of Dante Harris returning to UVA. The one-time Big East tournament MVP, Dante Harris of Georgetown fame, transferred to UVA. He had a very average, if not less than average year. I mean, let's cut to the chase. It was not a good year for Dante Harris, who struggled to shoot the basketball. He entered the transfer portal, no action on Harris, at least no action that interested him. And now he's returning to Charlottesville as a walk-on and what looks like a loaded team for Tony Bennett. And ladies and gentlemen, we have Brian O'Connor in the Super Regionals. He has a chance to make Omaha. He's got the College World Series on the horizon. He's got to get through Brian O'Connor, Kansas State. Virginia's a heavy favorite. They host a Super Regional this weekend. Friday night, first pitch, 7 o'clock, ESPNU against Kansas State. If Virginia beats Kansas State, they go to the College World Series in Omaha for the third time in 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian O'Connor is the winningest baseball coach since he started in Charlottesville as the skipper of the Virginia baseball program. He has posted more wins, Virginia baseball, more victories than any other program in college baseball across the country. I mean, madre, we are loaded today. Absolutely loaded today. Let's welcome Judah Wickower on a two-shot. We have a new show launching today at 2:30 p.m. featuring Nate Kibler. He's a local legend, Nate Kibler. The White Mountain Ministries show at 2:30 p.m. today. Nate Kibler, the host of that show on the I Love CVille Network. We are absolutely loaded, and it's good to be back in the saddle. We'll lead with, the $9 million. I was disappointed with the $9 million payday. This is a tough story. 3 Virginia football players murdered on grounds. A former football player murdered 3, injured 2 others.
Yeah.
$9 million paid. What do you make of this? I think the story here is from my standpoint, the payday being, in the grand scheme of things, I think fairly meager. We'll break down the payday here in a matter of moments. $2 million to Deshaun Perry's family, $2 million to Devin Chandler's family, $2 million to Lavelle Davis Jr.'s family. That totals $6 million. An additional $3 million to 2 other students who were wounded in the shooting.
Yeah.
From my standpoint, the storyline here is the payday, maybe a little bit of closure. Of course, the pay is not going to justify the loss of life ever. Right. I was shocked the pay was at this level. I found it much lower than I expected. But I think the true storyline here is the University of Virginia still, despite pleas, begging, demanding, insisting from the victims' families to release the investigative probe of what happened, how it was handled, how we got to this point. UVA still will not release the investigative probe, the analysis of what happened. Where do you want to go with this storyline?
I mean, I'm curious whether the disincentive to release the probe has anything to do with how they would. Would they face any issues in court while this guy is getting charged, while he's going through his
trial?
Yeah. Is there a worry on the part of UVA that this report could somehow, I don't know, cause them trouble in the trial?
Christopher Darnell Jones Jr., the alleged murderer, if the report was released, could it have created a more significant payday? Because if the investigative probe was released prior to the payday, could the investigative probe be utilized or leveraged to drive more pay, more millions to the victims' families? That's one question I have. A second question I have, UVA failing to release this probe, this analysis of what it could have done well, better, what it did right, what it did poorly, what's actually in this report, and how bad does UVA look?
Yeah.
A third question I have, is UVA holding this investigative report, this probe, keeping it clandestine behind closed doors, keeping it in a manila folder, proverbially, on Jim Ryan's desk, or in a safe in his office, or in a DL spot at Cars Hill, his mansion? Are they doing that because of all the other negative attention tied to the pro-Palestine protests and how it was dispersed by state police, almost acting as if it was a military, using tear gas and pepper spray, clad in riot gear, playing Red Rover with protesters? Are they keeping the investigative report under wraps, because releasing it now would just snowball more negative momentum when it comes to management and safety of students.
Could be.
Is it truly the reason they gave that they did not want to interfere with Mr. Jim Hingley's trial? Saw Mr. Hingley prior to the show. Fantastic Commonwealth's attorney, doing a hell of a job in this community. When you do not offer transparency on some of the darkest days in UVA's history, and the killing of 3 football players, the injuring of 2 other students, one of them, Mike Hollins, is going to go down as one of the darkest days in the history of the University of Virginia.
Yeah.
Right there on the same shelf as August 11th and August 12th, 2017. And that's in the headlines with some of those torch-carrying Nazis from A11, A12 now in court themselves.
Yeah.
When it rains and pours. It's like when you pop a tin or a can of Pringles chips. You have one, and before you know it, you've eaten the entire can. Once you pop, you can't stop. Negative news right now with the protest disbursement and how that was done, with the investigative probe of the 3 football players that were killed by another former football player, 2 others injured, and now with the Nazis marching on grounds with torches. It's all colliding and crescendoing at the same time.
Not to mention the fact that nothing was done to the torch-bearing nutcases
On A11.
while
They were marching through grounds.
right. While years later, this by all accounts fairly innocuous protest had cops come in armed to bear.
There it is. All colliding at the same time that Governor Glenn Youngkin is doing what with the Board of Visitors?
He's packing the board with people he wants.
And the appointees happened when?
June of this year,
Completely different dynamic with the
I
board.
believe.
Ginny Who wants to talk about the email from the Albemarle County teacher. Hating on, this email is absolutely insane.
It is.
We're going to talk about that in a matter of moments, Ginny Who. You released the report of UVA, you offer transparency, and you manage the collateral damage. The longer the report sits in the proverbial manila folder in a locked safe in Jim Ryan's office, the more the report becomes a stick of dynamite.
I'm not sure how it could cause a problem in the trial, and the fact that they've said that they will release the report, after the trial, they will release the redacted report.
Right. Why not release the report in totality?
Yeah.
It's sketch, right?
And maybe they're hoping by the time the trial is over, demand for the report will have died down. I believe the trial is set to start January of next year, so that's a good 7-8 months away, and by then maybe they think nobody's going to care anymore. I find that hard to believe.
Find that extremely hard to believe.
But maybe they think, I don't know, maybe they think there'll be enough other crazy stuff going on that this will fall by the wayside. And who knows? Maybe the insanity at UVA is the new normal.
And is that why Glenn Youngkin, the governor, is changing the look and feel of the Board of Visitors? Is that why the Jefferson Council, with Razorblade Burt Ellis and his lieutenant, Mr. Bacon, are doing so much behind-the-scenes politicking, wheeling and dealing to try to return UVA to what they believe is the former normal and away from what they believe is today's insanity?
Could be.
It does appear on paper to be a university that I no longer recognize. And my dad went there, my brother went there, I went there, and we've lived in Charlottesville since I was a first year. A lot to cover on today's program, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know your thoughts. We'll relay it live on air. And speaking of the University of Virginia, let's put the alumni headline as a lower third, or actually put me on a one-shot with headlines. See if you can adjust that spacing. I'm being a bit OCD. which you know very well, 14 years of working alongside me. Nora Gaffney, welcome to the program. A little bit of information here. Maury McGinnis is now Yale University's 24th president. She's a former vice provost for academic affairs and long-serving faculty member at UVA. She's been named the president of Yale University, where she earned a PhD degree in 1996. Ms. McGinnis earned her undergraduate degree in art history at UVA in 1988. She later spent nearly 18 years at the university in a professional capacity, first as a professor of art history, then director of American Studies, then an associate dean for undergraduate education of the College of Arts and Sciences, and finally as the vice provost for academic affairs until 2016. There's an excellent profile on her on news.virginia.edu. This is a major story because someone within the UVA family tree is now president of one of the most prestigious universities in the world, Yale University. This is also a significant story because Jim Ryan, some scuttlebutt had President Ryan of UVA linked to this opening. Jim Ryan, if you do a little research, an undergraduate degree from Yale University. The embattled president here in Charlottesville, many, including insiders and those close to the board, had rumor milled, had scuttlebutted, had considered, had speculated that Mr. Ryan, the president at UVA, would consider the Yale University or would be considered for that opening. It has now been filled. That leaves now an embattled president with a board of visitors that's going to be completely different this summer in a very warm, if not hot, seat, ladies and gentlemen, without an exit plan or a parachute to pull. Now, put the lower third on screen for the Alumna teacher hates white women in an email. I can't believe I'm even talking about this storyline here. Set the stage, Judah Wickhauer, on this. This is from Rob Schilling's The Schilling Show. He uncovered an email sent by an Albemarle County teacher, Albemarle High School teacher, on May 22nd. Let's look at the calendar. May 22nd was Wednesday. A Wednesday in the school year at 2:18 in the morning, an Albemarle High School teacher is emailing his or her students and absolutely hating white women and white mothers. Can you set the table and help me understand this, please?
I don't think I can help anyone understand this. It's just nuts, and I wish
nuts.
the article had some explanation for what transpired. I mean, the guy starts his email with, "What has transpired?" But then nobody gives.
Whoa! Do we have
explanation.
clear indication it's a man?
Did I say his?
You said guy starts his email.
You're right. I don't know that there is any indication that this was from a man or a woman.
But no, you should read. This has been. Why is this going to students?
But
Please.
the fact that the article mentions parents demanding answers regarding a racially insensitive and borderline misogynistic email gives me the impression that it's a man. Most women wouldn't write an email that somebody would call misogynistic.
That's a bit of an assumption.
It is. But we all make assumptions all day long.
That's okay. All right. Set the table.
I honestly don't know if it's man or woman, but they say this emotional message was dispatched May 22nd at about 2:18 in the morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a Wednesday during the school year.
I mean, I'm glad it wasn't a text. Imagine your phone buzzing, with something like this at 2 in the morning. As an email, most of these people probably didn't see it until
they woke up and got ready for school. Oh, I got an email from my teacher. What's my teacher saying? Why is my teacher hating on mothers?
Yeah.
Why is my teacher hating on mommies and white women?
I mean, this was.
Why is my teacher saying? First read the email directly.
I want to know why. I mean, this is almost acting like the kids are like some type of therapy.
I read the email directly. So the viewers and listeners, he's going to read verbatim here.
Here's what we've got. Do you want me to read it in its entirety?
I trust your judgment on this one. This one's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs here.
Good evening/morning to all of you. This is now the 6th night in a row that I have been unable to sleep, so I wanted to let you all know that the ordeal that has transpired at our school has taken a toll on me mentally, emotionally, and physically. I thought I was strong enough to not let this travesty affect me the way that it has. This event has caused an enormous amount of stress, which is causing me extremely high blood pressure, severe headaches, blurred vision, and anxiety, things I have not experienced since my childhood. This event has reopened wounds that I thought I healed from, but it is clearly obvious that they have resurfaced. And what's worse is no one responsible has accepted responsibility or accountability for what they have done to me by publicly humiliating others. I am sharing this pain of mine with you because I care about each and every one of you and do not want any of you to think that I am not there because of any of you. I can no longer be in the building at the moment. That is toxic, emotionally and mentally unsafe, and untrustworthy. I refuse to go through this twice. I grew up in this type of environment my whole childhood, but now that I am 45 years old, I do not have to subject myself to that anymore. What has transpired at our school is what my mother did to me for 21 years. An authoritative figure and my mother shares similar things in many ways. In the public eye, they're the most caring people you would ever want to know, but behind closed doors, they are monsters. They know how to say all the right things in front of others, but in private they attempt to break your spirit by verbally beating you down. And here is the kicker. They are both white. Yes, the one person in my life who was supposed to protect me, guard my heart, and make sure that no harm would ever come to me was the one who caused the most harm, was a white woman. I tell you all this to say they have won. I am defeated. They too, like my mother, has crushed my spirit and will to want to be a teacher. I just want to sit in the dark alone. I guess I am not as strong as I look. I am embarrassed and ashamed to be in my classroom with you all. Some of you have noticed in just 2 days the effect this has had on me. How can I be the best at helping you all if you all see me struggling to hold it together? I want you all to be aware of evil and wicked people around. They are usually in disguise as a wolf in sheep's clothing. They not only broke me, but they have pushed out other great educators out along the way. My hope is that by next Tuesday I can be as close to normal as possible. Seniors, I am sorry that I did not get to see you off. I wish all the best and success in your futures. Please, for me, try to watch your language. Some of you, glasses emoji, and keep your noise level reasonable. Also, try your best to get any work turned in. I will update as you submit. I have so much genuine love and respect for each one of you. If I do not see you again before June 7th, please have a relaxing and peaceful summer. You all deserve it. You all do great things for our students and each other. You are welcome to share. Maybe this can help someone that you know who is going through a storm. But just know that I am done. I am tapping out. If not, I'm not sure that my health can endure. I will always be in support of what is right, but I can no longer be a major contributor, and I am deeply sorry if I let any of you down. With love and admiration for all. Name redacted.
That was Judah reading verbatim from an email that a teacher sent her Albemarle High School students at 2:18 in the morning on a Wednesday during this school year.
And I still don't know what the incident
Is this
was.
teacher, is she tripping on mushrooms? Is she tripping on some heady acid? Did she eat some stems and some caps? Is she, I'm sorry, I use the pronoun she. Is she or he on a bender of some kind? Are they hammered? That doesn't strike me as the writings of someone who is hammered or drunk. If you're hammered or drunk, you're not writing. I guess I could call that succinctly. It's bizarre.
Some
It's
of the
confusing.
wording is off. There are some terms that are oddly phrased.
Why is the teacher sending a therapy-based email to his or her students? Why is the teacher utilizing first-person written monologue on mommy issues and presenting them to students about how they should look at white women and white mommies?
Yeah.
This crosses the line of professionalism 1,000 times over. It is not just crossing the line. It sees the line, it takes out a machete, and it dices the line up with a machete as if it is making tossed Caesar salad.
I was going to say it sees the line, grabs a, what do you call those?
A spear?
No, a pole. A pole vault. And like leaps as far past as he
It
could
takes the
possibly
line,
go.
it grabs a cheese grater, and it gets the line all over the cheese grater like you're trying to take Parmesan cheese on top of chicken Caesar salad. What the actual F is going on here?
I do not know.
This email is got to be the base or cause for potential termination.
I don't think that's going to be a problem at this point. It sounds like they're never showing up at this school again.
It sounds like someone should be checking on this teacher with a 1-800 helpline phone call.
And
Let's keep all shoestrings and
a
all tall buildings away from this teacher.
Get him a white jacket that straps in the back.
Make sure the Advil and the 750 milliliter bottle of vodka is nowhere to be found. And why are they communicating these thoughts and feelings to students in written form at 2:18 in the morning? And why have we not heard from Albemarle County in any capacity about this?
I could see maybe sending an email in,
I can't see anything when it pertains to this being actually
I'm
viable
saying,
approach to anything.
I'm saying if you heavily edited this and sent it at a reasonable time, I could understand. I get kind of what they're doing. They're basically if they were to come into class and try to explain this, they'd have to explain it over the course of however many classes they have. So I can understand why they might feel it necessary to send an email to their students so the students don't wonder why they never see this teacher again. But the unhinged nature and the time of sending is just odd.
Albemarle County parents. I'm a parent. My wife's a parent. We live in Albemarle County. Albemarle County taxpayers. I'm an Albemarle County taxpayer. You're an Albemarle County taxpayer. Albemarle County business owners who pay taxes. Albemarle County shoppers, diners. Albemarle County retirees. Albemarle County students. Are you not left flummoxed and perplexed, at the very least, with this? And if you're like me, aren't you asking more questions? Is this teacher cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and guiding the next generation of learners with this cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs mentality and lens on life? You got mommy issues? Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Call a therapist.
Here's another line from the actual
Don't tell your
article
students.
where it says, along with well wishes for his students. So
It's a man with confirmation?
I mean, it says his.
In Schilling's reporting?
Yeah.
Okay. Was your mommy tough on you, Judah? Was my mommy tough on me? Sure. Am I going to go tell complete strangers about it? No.
Yeah. I mean, equating something that happened at a school with how their mother abused them for 21 years, it's a little TMI.
Ginny who? This email is bizarre and crosses multiple lines. Of course, when you have the federal government labeling parents who speak out at school board meetings as domestic terrorists, should we be shocked a teacher thinks this is an acceptable way to handle things?
Probably not.
Do we get, before we move off this topic, do we get any kind of communication or acknowledgement from Superintendent Dr. Matthew Haas's office? Or do they utilize summer break as the monkeys emoji, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, and hope it just goes away?
I mean, this is from the article, so remember that this is Schilling writing, but it says the incident has gone largely unacknowledged by AHS Principal Dara Bonham and Albemarle County Public Schools Superintendent Matt Haas, perhaps in hopes that it will simply go away without either having to officially address the created situation. And parents have complained that the subject email may violate, among other things, the division's anti-racism policy. I think the least I'm worried about in this entire thing is
I'm worried about this teacher's health and well-being.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
I don't think anyone's going to go after the teacher for saying white women.
I'm worried about how many students were influenced or affected negatively by this teacher's distorted lens and mommy
You're
issues.
saying before they left?
Yeah.
That's just what you have to realize is a part of sending your kids to school. You don't know necessarily.
Ginny, who's a mom, is it a mom of 3 or 4? She said, I'm sure you can guess what my response would be if any adult emailed something like that to one of my children. Yeah, dude. If
2:23 in the morning, knock, knock, knock.
If someone emailed something like that to our sons, my wife would ballistic.
Yeah.
I would be fearful of the teacher sending the email because of my wife and be saying,
because you don't want your wife to go to jail for murdering someone.
dude, mama bear. Don't mess with the mama bear.
Mm.
Oh my goodness gracious. This is what we come back to after going to a family wedding for a few days. Next headline, Judah Wickower. Is it baseball and basketball?
Yeah.
I remind everybody, a new show launching at our network at 2:30 p.m. today featuring Nate Kibler, the White Mountain Ministry show. We're excited for that. He's got quite a story to share with you, the viewers and listeners. I generally try not to focus on sports with this show because we have a sports show with me and Jerry Ratcliffe, the Jerry and Jerry Show. Virginia Sports Hall of Famer Jerry Ratcliffe, been on the UVA beat for longer than anyone covering the University of Virginia. So I try to leave a lot of the sports coverage for that show, but we have so much sports information that needs to be in the news cycle, that is in the news cycle, that we need to touch on. First, let's talk baseball. The baseball team just won a regional in Charlottesville where 6,000 fans were in attendance for pretty much every single game that UVA played. Brian O'Connor's baseball team positively impacting the economy here in the Charlottesville area again. Because he performed so admirably and won this regional, Brian O'Connor's baseball team is now hosting a super regional where one team, instead of 3 in the regional, now one team in the super regional will come to Charlottesville, and that's Kansas State. Virginia is a heavy favorite to beat Kansas State. First pitch Friday night, 7 o'clock at the Dish and national TV, ESPNU. The first team that wins 2 games in a best-of-3 series advances to Omaha, the College World Series, where Brian O'Connor has been. If he wins this super regional this weekend, he would have earned a Omaha berth 3 out of the last 4 years. That's significant. And how about this statistic for your cocktail parties or your conversation over the dinner table tonight? Since Brian O'Connor has taken the job at UVA as the head baseball coach for the Virginia baseball program in 2004, he is the winningest and has the winningest team and program in all of college baseball. So from 2004 to now, no other program in college baseball has won more games than Brian O'Connor's Virginia baseball team. You are looking at and Brian O'Connor on a very short list of greatest coaches in Virginia athletics history. Kevin Yancey on the Jerry and Jerry Show said that Mount Rushmore of coaches, Tony Bennett, Brian O'Connor, Julie Myers, women's lacrosse, Dom Starsia, men's lacrosse, and George Welsh, the football coach. Julie Myers, a hell of a pickleball player as well. I'd say maybe you consider a Debbie Ryan on that list. Definitely a Debbie Ryan on that list. Maybe a Terry Holland on that list. The swimming coach, the tennis coaches, Brian Bolin and the current one. Kevin Sawyer, the rowing coach who's about to retire. I mean, they have an abundance of riches. Not only is the baseball program noteworthy news, but the basketball team has become noteworthy news. And we're in June. Dante Harris entered the transfer portal and now has decided to leave the transfer portal because he didn't have any interest that was of noteworthy to him. So now he's returning to Charlottesville to play for Tony Bennett, and he's coming back as a walk-on. You're talking a one-time Big East tournament MVP from Georgetown, came to UVA. He had a subpar year this past season. He tried to transfer from UVA, not much noteworthy interest, and he comes back as a walk-on. Maybe Dante Harris isn't a starter, but this is a guy that certainly can give you quality minutes off the bench. If that's not enough information, there's scuttlebutt and rumor mill from Chris Graham of the Augusta Free Press that Reece Beekman is thinking about leaving the NBA draft and returning to Charlottesville and Tony Bennett's team for a 6th year. Reece Beekman, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, one of the best point guards in the country, has fallen off NBA draft boards, not even a second-round pick. Only first-round money is guaranteed. Second-round money is not guaranteed. Beekman not even projected to go in the second round. Now there's talk he returns to Charlottesville, plays a 6-year of college basketball, tries to capitalize on NIL money, where the rumor is maybe $500,000 in pay. That certainly beats the $40,000 he would earn in the G League. If Beekman returns to Tony Bennett's program for a 6-year, it's a big if. You're looking at talent on a roster that is as good as any in the country, especially after you get a forward from Duke to leave Durham and head to Charlottesville, a forward from San Diego State to head to Charlottesville via the transfer portal. Day-Day Ames leaves Kansas State, comes to Charlottesville via the transfer portal. Christian Bliss is ready to go. Isaac McNeely is back. Tane Murray is back. Blake Buchanan is back. I mean, good God, this team goes from potentially one point guard on the roster, a starting lineup that's in shambles, and a cupboard that's empty, to an abundance of riches. An abundance of riches. And just like that, Tony Bennett shows again, proves to everyone that he can take a few loaves of bread and a couple of fish and feed 14 or 15,000 people in the John Paul Jones Arena and do it while walking on water. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Great to be back in the saddle. Vanessa Parkhill says, I hope the teacher who penned the email gets the help they need. Albemarle County Public Schools will say little about it under the umbrella of personnel issue.
Yep.
I think she's right. Oh, man. That's the Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille Show. Nate Kibler and the White Mountain Ministry Show, 2:30 p.m. on this network. This show is making history, and you're going to see why. Maybe the first in the Commonwealth of Virginia of this kind, led by Nate Kibler, 2:30 p.m. today on the I Love CVille Network. Giddy up and get ready. For Judah Wickower, my name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody.